Hello everyone, we are having another great podcast at the very best here at the Rod Hotel. First of all, I want to say really thank you to the first sponsor, the Rod Hotel, that became our sponsor here, that we will be able to record our podcast here. And then second of all, the city of Miramichi, who funded this podcast since last year, that gave us a lot of opportunity to be able to share a lot of stories here in Miramichi. And since we are really close to the election, that the people can choose their candidates for the future mayor of Miramichi and their city councilor, I decided to have Veronique Arsenault with me here today, and I had this honor that she accepted to be here with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation. Glad to be able to sit down with you.
Of course, yeah, thank you. It's just so exciting to get to know you very well, and I'm sure many people might have a lot of questions. We are not going to get into a lot of politics because I know you're having a weekly live session on your social media. So when people have any question, I'm sure you already answered most of them.
Yes, it's my way of being able to connect as much as possible and answer questions as honestly as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's why we are here, not because so many people ask me on the comment on my social media, you got to ask her this question. I said, no, I'm not going to ask this guy. This podcast is about the stories, right? So we want to know what's the story behind your life, your decisions, your plan. And so today we are going to get to know you more. Okay. And how about we starting a little bit about your background, if you like, about your family member or we can move on with your education maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
So really lucky. My parents, I have the most amazing parents and have been very lucky my whole life that they have supported me in whatever I decided I wanted to do, but also really taught me the value of community and volunteering. The first time I volunteered, I was 6 years old, and I was volunteering for the Special Olympics. So my mother was a teacher for kids with special needs, and she taught for 32 years. And then she retired and decided that she really wasn't done. She wanted to go after her dream job at the time. And her dream job at the time was to be a chaplain at the hospital. And so she spent 11 years there until she retired when she was 75, working with palliative care and patients. And really, people at some of their lowest points, but also being able to bring them comfort. And that was really amazing to watch because Mom changed the world one person at a time, but also didn't realize that she was doing that. She never really understood the impact. And my dad was military. And 33 years he spent serving his country, which was, a wonderful career. And in his last 2 years with the military, he became a peacekeeper and was in Israel and Lebanon at the time.
Right.
Came home, retired, didn't know what to do with himself because he was far too young, and he joined the United Nations. And he was a security specialist for the UN for 24 years. Wow. So I got to watch him change the world one person at a time, and I got to watch my mom change one person at a time. And I've been very lucky. I've had a great career. I've worked in a lot of different places, different cities. And I came home here 20 years ago because I wanted to be part of something special, and that was the community.
Yeah. Where were you before?
I was in Ottawa for 16 years. Yeah.
16 years. Okay. Yeah. Were you studying?
No, I was working retail at the time. I was a senior manager for a large retail chain.
Okay.
And I managed a department that was a $6 million business, and it was incredible, and a great learning ground for me. I had 40 employees at the time, and really taught me, how to manage a large-scale business, but also what can happen when things go wrong, especially in the retail sector, right? It can be very difficult. But when I came home, for me, it was about becoming part of the community, and I got to work with the Chamber of Commerce. I was the executive director for 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and at the same time, I was teaching high school.
Right.
Full time.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know what? That was one of the best things I ever did. Getting to hear students' perspectives on life and what's working and what isn't was phenomenal for me, and I loved it. And then moved on and started my own business, which was tough, and we can go into more of that.
How many years ago was that?
So I opened my doors in 2013.
Okay. What was the business about?
It was a restaurant.
It was a restaurant.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, not far from
exciting.
here actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was just on the waterfront there, across from the dollar store where Blush Beauty Bar is now.
Right. Yeah.
So I used to own that building.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was open 3 years, but in 3 years I had 3 floods, a fire, and an explosion.
Really?
I did.
Oh my God.
I did. Yeah. So it was tough.
Yeah, definitely.
It was tough. And the first flood actually shut me down for most of the first summer.
Right.
And I never really recovered after that.
No, definitely. Like I see a lot of like small businesses also. That the pet shop also.
Yes.
She was facing 2 times or 3 times facing fires too. It's definitely hard on them. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. And for me, insurance didn't cover the first flood because I had only been open 6 weeks at the time.
Oh.
And so it was all out of pocket and it
That's
flooded
tough.
on all 3 floors of the building.
Oh no.
So it ruined everything because
Right.
the building was 175 years
Oh,
old.
you were owning all the buildings.
I did,
Okay.
yeah.
So was there any other businesses?
No.
It was just all yours.
Yep.
Oh no. That's not good. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And and then I left there, and I was the executive director of the Miramichi Multicultural Association.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then the federal government, I managed to get a job, and I've been there now 10 years.
Right. That's good. Yeah. I've been like the common stuff that we were doing together at the same time. I was as the executive of director at the Chamber of Commerce too last year, I believe. But since the timing was not really matching to my schedule and my work, and so I couldn't continue. So I resigned after that because most of the time it was in the middle of the day.
Right.
And then beside that, I was on a different other boards, like I'm on a board of governor at NBCC,
Right,
and then joining a PRAC member at the Service Commission. So it was tough. It was a tough decision. Which one should I stay? Which one I should like step down? I wish like the schedule was more flexible because the Chamber of Commerce was like my dream job to be, not job, like a volunteering place to be there, to connect with other businesses, hearing their problems. And so it was amazing. And at the same time with the Multicultural Association, it's always amazing talking to the people. Already they have great president and the great board and the best CEO that they're always like really supporting. I think when I was at the Chamber of Commerce too, we were always mentioning about how important the Multicultural Association is in our community here in Miramichi. They play a crucial role. And unfortunately, since last 2 years that the immigration system changes a little bit, we are kind of a lot of businesses suffering, and a lot of like even MBCC restaurants, we are facing lack of laborers and doctors, because for example at the hospital I heard that we have some doctors that they might retire and each of them have 2,000 to 3,000 patients.
Exactly.
So that's scary sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and you're right, because in our medical system or our entrepreneurs as well, a lot of them are at that age where they're looking to retire, and they may not have family members to take over, either their practice or their business or whatever it may be. And so that succession planning is going to be really key in the next little while. And, the province really has to, and they have been, for many years, trying to focus on attracting more doctors and healthcare practitioners, but it's tough.
It is, yeah. No, I know. So what happened after that tragedy for your business? Did you give it another chance or not?
So I stayed open for 3 years.
Okay.
And I loved that business. I loved that business. I had an amazing team that I got to work with every day.
What kind of restaurant was it?
So everything was house-made. We didn't have any deep fryers.
Okay.
And so I had a Red Seal chef who designed the menu before we opened, and we made gourmet sandwiches and soups. We had, even our Caesar salad dressing was made in-house. And we had, one of the things I missed the most though was we had a scallop and shrimp dinner, and it was in a brandy wine sauce. Wow. And it was so good.
Oh my God, I'm really foodie these days. I really love to find a person who can cook homemade food, and then I just don't want to do any groceries. I can just go buy food, save a lot of time.
That's right.
Eating good food.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any right now, like a homemade food?
No, well, actually,
the farmers market.
yes, you can definitely get at the farmers market, and then Mindful of Food does do some meals that you can freeze or take home or that kind of thing. So
I need to check that out.
Oh yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah, these days I feel like I'm really out of time, and I need to. I love cooking, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I cook good Persian food too.
Yeah.
But sometimes I can't keep up, and I don't like eating like having frozen food. I just love to eating everything fresh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't love cooking.
No?
No. I'm a very good cook, but I don't enjoy it.
I found out when you cook, it's like with all of that, the smells, all of that effort that you are putting into cooking, you ended up losing that appetite that you wanna. But the people who are eating that, they're gonna enjoy it.
That's exactly. It's always better when somebody else makes it.
Right, exactly.
Always, yeah. So we did stay open for 3 years, and at the end, I did have 2 more floods. We had a post-tropical storm Arthur hit, and it took out all of our fridges and freezers in the basement because it flooded from the street in.
Yeah, okay.
And the next year we had a pipe burst. That one I managed to catch it quick enough. And by then I knew everything there was to know about jack posts and rebar and, where all of our valves were and all that kind of good stuff. But the last 6 months, we really had it right. We had a booming catering business. I had incredible staff. I always did through those 3 years. We had the right hours, the right food. But I was so far in debt at that point that the responsible thing was to close it down and get out of debt. Yeah,
I believe you. It must be really tough all the time. Me and my friends talking about like running a business, but we are not brave enough to start doing that because it's and we got kind of addicted to some jobs. Being entrepreneur is that coming out of that comfort zone, right? Nowadays we get addicted to our weekly paycheck, right?
Right.
We don't want to miss that and try to risk it, go under the debt.
Yeah.
And so I understand totally.
Yeah. At some point, you have to. It's funny. I kept thinking if I keep going, this will be a fun story later that I survived all of this, right? That was not right.
No,
that was not true.
No,
so finally, it just came that I knew I had to close it down, and thankfully, my staff all found jobs within a few weeks of that. And I repaid all of the gift certificates that were outstanding, and I repaid all the debt that was associated with the business. But I think you learn too when things work, but also when they don't. That what you need to do and when you need to make those hard decisions.
No, 100%. Sometimes this is not the best practice. I wouldn't recommend to anyone to do. But sometimes I go to casino. I know I'm gonna lose, but I'm gonna lose. But I'm gonna not put more money and come out. Practice losing.
Practice. I get it. Yeah.
It's expensive practice, but but it really helps sometimes. Like when you face some bigger challenges in the life.
Right.
Anyway, now let's get back to the timeline. The timeline with my stories are really important to me. So you went to Ottawa when you were 16.
Yeah.
So and you started working right away. Or you went to study?
So I did a couple of years of high school, and then I came back and graduated here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I graduated from James M. Hill in 1991, and this was always home, right? My mother was a teacher, and so we came every summer and spent the summers with my grandparents and my family, my cousins, and all that. So I have lifelong friends here, which is unusual for a military child to have. Because they move around so much, right?
Yes.
And then went to Ottawa, came back again, went back to Ottawa. So it spanned about 16 years. And then finally came back in 2002, stayed for about a year and a bit. I was teaching in Rexton at the time.
Okay.
And then got a job offer in Montreal that I couldn't turn down.
Right.
For an international company. I worked for a cosmetic company. And I was the education executive for Quebec and Eastern Ontario at that time. So traveled an incredible amount. And then got a job offer in Ottawa. Went back to Ottawa for a year. And then I missed home.
You miss home?
And Ottawa's a wonderful city, but I was volunteering a lot, and I was missing that connection piece, and so I came home finally in the summer of 2006.
2006.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I haven't left since. I mean, I've gone on vacation for sure.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I do like to travel, but I always want to come home.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 2006, you were here until now.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And then, so when you come back here, I'm just trying to find your pathway to the political wars.
Yep.
So after like being entrepreneur, running those businesses, and then it got flooded, and all of those challenges you had. When was the first time you found out you mentioned about like helping your community or volunteering for them, but when was that your first political job? Was it becoming a city councilor or before?
In 2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Like almost how many years ago? 5 years ago.
Yeah. So for me, my plan was always just to volunteer, right? And that was my way to give back to the community, to be part of something. But when I first started traveling to where my dad was, because he was in a lot of countries that most people would not typically visit. He always was in a war zone.
Yeah.
Because of his work. And it was, for me, a real live view of what terrible government can do to its citizens. And it deeply changed me. You know, the first time I went overseas, I was 23. And at one point later, I spent 3 months living in Togo, Africa, with my father. I taught in the school over there, and really, for the first time, understood what it was like in other countries besides living in Canada. And so when I came back and I was volunteering, everything was wonderful. But it felt like the next step for me eventually was to get on council or to try to at the time. Yeah. And I finally did decide in 2021 that was what I was going to do, and was successful and very thankful, because it was a great opportunity the last 5 years to be able to serve the community in this
100%.
way.
Yeah, yes, I believe you. It is the best feeling. My story, that's why I'm staying here, that many people asking me for the first question, why Miramichi?
Yeah.
Because most of the people traveling to Toronto or like a bigger city, like in the province of New Brunswick, most of the people going to Fredericton or Moncton. Why Miramichi? That question was always bothering me, because like I'm saying, it's a nice city. Why are you?
It's a great city.
Yeah, why not? Right? But like the reason I came here, first of all, it was because of the NBCC, and then so that's why NBCC playing a really crucial role in our community. And then, but I had the chance to live to Moncton because I have a brother. He's living here for 7 years. I've been here less than 4 years, and then. I got the chance to go there, and I talked to one of my instructors, Todd Sobi. He told me, you can go next week if you want to go to Moncton. I talked to the instructor over there in that campus, and everything is okay. And during that 1 week that I was staying in Miramichi, I totally fall in love with the city, with the people, with the beauty of the environment here, the river, the bridge, and all of that. I said, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. Yeah. And that's the story that kept me here. And another story that I want to say is about the Paddy Quinn, deputy mayor.
Yes.
So my tradition for that year was, I love to, because most of the people around me, they were all Canadian. We didn't have any Iranian. We have, but maybe 5 of them here.
Right.
And we were not really getting to know each other. They were all working at the hospital, busy. Anyway, I had this tradition to share my culture also with the Canadian, my friends, because they were keep sharing their culture with me, and I was really willing to learn it. And so my tradition was during Christmas printing. I'm sure you received some of them too. That printing some art from my country, Iran, and giving as a gift to the people around myself. And then one of them, when I gifted to Paddy Quinn. He posted on his social media during Christmas. He usually do something like a couple days before Christmas. He shared a story of his year.
Yes.
And he shared my story. And then he called me Iranian Miramichi. And when he called me that totally changed everything in my life. That I feel like nowadays, I feel like that sense of belonging to the community. And it was just my first year and I arrived, right? And then since having that sense of belonging, making people, I believe, getting involved more to the community, and they want to raise their voice, comment on some of the stuff, and try to keep their official elected accountable, maybe something in any way. But when I'm talking to the rest, some of the newcomers, some of them are saying that the first 5 years of the immigration is very tough. It's very hard. For me, it was not like that, and I believe that having sense of belonging changed that atmosphere and that vibe. And I feel like I'm saying this because if any other politician are like watching this podcast, I will really recommend them to keep that behavior up, to having Miramichi have that sense of welcoming, and I feel like within our politicians also we have the most accessible, I believe so, I better say, and because when you go, I had a trip from here to Niagara Falls, and I had this mission. I got a lot of like a Miramichi pin and like a book and everything, and I decided to give to the mayors of all of the cities that I'm traveling to, like nice. Montreal, Toronto, and the rest of them. The only city that accepted was the city of Niagara Falls. Oh. And he accepted, he took a picture of it, and he sent me back also some gift from the Niagara Falls as a souvenirs. Yeah. But not the rest of the city were accepting my invitation, like to Toronto or like the rest of them. That's what I'm saying. Then I realized that if I one day travel to anywhere, probably Niagara Falls would be the place that I want to. Yeah. That's where I can say my voice can be heard, right? Yeah. But I don't think my voice can be here in Toronto or something like that. I don't know, is that population. They were saying even that what I was doing was illegal. You are not allowed to give a gift to the mayor, for example. I'm saying, based on my research, if it is like under some amount of price or something, it's fine. And it was just something that was representing my city, Miramichi. So that's why I'm really proud of what we have here. Yeah. This how can I say, hospitality, and the people are accessible. Yeah. Anyway, so 2022. 21, sorry, 21, you get elected. Yep. And then you were the city councilor. How did you find that job for yourself?
I have loved it. I have loved it. It is the very best way to impact the day-to-day lives of your neighbors, your community members, your friends, your family, in the best way that you can. It is the closest to the people as far as, the citizens, closest level of government to the people. And for me, I have loved it. It has been difficult in some moments, but it has been very, very rewarding. Very rewarding. Yeah. People have been great, and I've learned a lot. And it's been a real opportunity for me to give back to the community and to see some good things happen. And it's, it can be overwhelming at times because, you're learning lots of stuff that you have no knowledge about. Patty Quinn always says, I'm not an engineer, but I don't know, what the specs should be for that road. But, we take the advice of those around us, which is great. So for me, being on city council has been very rewarding in that I've gotten the chance to work really hard for this community and gotten so much more back because people are very open and welcoming, as you said, and for the most part want great things for their neighbors as well. So people would give me suggestions, or they would come to me with a problem and I would get to help them solve it. And it feels good at the end of the day.
So what part of that job you find it more challenging? And if you had the power to change something in the system, because I know there are just some system and we are following them as a city council, as a citizen, or anything else. What would you change in the system, or or I can say, my first question is, what was the main challenges that you had as a city councilor?
Sometimes social media is a wonderful thing. Sometimes it can be really difficult. Oh yeah. Sometimes it can be really draining. And it's very easy to say, just scroll by, you don't have to read it. But there are some issues that are so difficult for people and so frustrating and very valid that you can't just scroll by. And as a person, like I knew as a person that I was doing everything I could in that moment to solve whatever the issue was. But it didn't seem like that. And that was tough at times. But for me, I've been very comfortable with my decisions because I knew that I was making the best decision I could with the information in front of me. But I'm also very comfortable in when I'm wrong. And if I need to change a decision or tweak it or whatever, I'm okay with that.
Right.
So it's been a little bit tough around social media. And I love social media for a lot of things. I use it frequently. But people have also gotten very comfortable in saying some very terrible things and very personal things, like personal attacks. And again, it is easy to say to scroll by, but I've had people say those things. I've had people threaten me in real life, not just on social media.
Oh.
So that part has been challenging at times, but I can honestly say that about 90% of the time I love it.
Yeah.
90%. There's still some moments that I find it difficult, but the other thing that I find challenging about being on city council is you can't fix everything.
Right.
You know,
you can't keep everyone happy.
Right. And there are things that I really want to impact or wish that we could have had a bigger hand in, but weren't able to. And so the processes, like you said, can be limiting at times. And it's not an excuse, but you need to learn to navigate those. And how, for me, it's become a real lesson in determination, because if I can't figure it out this way, I've got to figure it out this way or that way or whatever. And so in some cases, it's taken me months to get something done or help someone, where in my mind it should have only taken, a couple of weeks. But so that has been a challenge. But I have learned, and now I've gotten really good at navigating a lot of those systems. There are changes we need to make, improvements that we need to make, and still some limitations around what we can do. But those are.
Is it a part-time job? As a city council?
It's considered that, but
I think that's a problem because because if you don't know, is it a part-time job? But it's called part-time job, but it's not a part-time job. It's like difficult, and it takes a lot of your time. And I don't know if it is right to talk about even about the salaries. But
absolutely.
So what do you think? I don't know about the salaries as a part-time job. Someone who need to commit his or her time to the city, does it worth it, or does it have to be someone rich or someone who is retired to come to do this job, that they can commit most of their time to this? Because at the same time we want some young people also to get into the council, right? Or become a mayor or something like that. So
most of us work full time.
Okay.
On top of what we do, so this council.
Beside the council.
Yeah. So this council in particular. Right. So we have all worked full time except for Brian King. Brian's been retired for a while, and he's been on council for 27 years. He's wonderful. So the rest of us all work full time. And then when Peggy Doyle was elected last year, she was the other one that was retired. But prior to that, the rest of us all worked full time. You can put as much into it or as little into it as you want as a councillor. So when I first started 5 years ago, the council pay for a first-time councillor was $13,000.
Okay.
And so for me, on average, in the wintertime, I average about 25 hours a week that I dedicate to council.
Right.
And so it can be meetings, it can be committees that I sit on, it can be events, it can be phone calls, emails, all that kind of stuff. Right. In the summertime, that goes up quite a bit. And I average about 30-ish, 35-ish hours a week. And so I've gotten really good at managing my time. I use a lot of tools that help me to do that. Oftentimes I'll answer emails at 6 o'clock in the morning, or on my lunch from work, or late at night, because that's when I can do it. I don't have any children, so I'm lucky in that I that sounded weird, but I don't mean that I'm I don't mean that I'm lucky I don't have kids, but in that way I don't have that family commitment for me to worry about, am I not giving enough time to my family? I have 2 wonderful dogs, but they understand when I'm not home as much. But but it can be, as much or as little as you want. But for me, I go to a lot of events and fundraisers, all that, for a couple of reasons. One, I know what it's like to volunteer and not have anybody show up to support.
100%.
You know, and you want to give that support. You want to be there for the people that have put all that work in. Two, a lot of the events really depend on attendance in order to get funding. Right. So if you can be counted as a person that's supported, then their funding goes up from the provincial and federal governments when they're looking for that. But the other thing I find is that that's where people really tell me what's working and what's not, or what problems that they're facing. They're much more comfortable to walk up to me in a social setting and say, you know, I'm having a really hard time with this. What do I do? Or I need to apply to that. Where do I, you know? So those events for me are such a big part of my council experience because it gives me the opportunity to connect directly with people out on the street. Yeah. Just like the grocery store, just like all that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Like, talking about that, it reminded me the first time, it was not the first time we met each other, but I remember you were involved with the TV show, Have a Chat with Judy Lozier.
Yes.
And I remember when I became active on social media, Judy texted me one time, tried to like invite me also to her podcast, and we had a really good time. We didn't get a chance to have you that time on at that show.
Yep.
But so
that was volunteer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say exactly. You were doing that too, the same job that I'm doing these days. I'm doing this voluntarily too. Like all the grants went to buy all of the cameras and the systems that we have, and thanks to our volunteer here that sometimes helping us to run this podcast. So I know and I understand. Sometimes also people expect more than they expect me as a media. I'm not a media here, right? I'm a storyteller. I'm trying to ask questions knowing your story, right?
Yeah.
So
we shot. So we were on Rogers for 10 years. Yeah. And we shot 42 live shows a year.
42 a year?
Yeah, 42 a year. About that, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes, but we averaged that. We would usually take off the month of August and the month of December.
Okay.
But the rest of the time we were live every week.
Every week, every Monday.
Every Monday from 1 till 2. And we would find the guests and we would, prep all of that. And that I loved it. But the other thing and the reason why we actually ended on our 10th anniversary was, at some point, that there needs to be other voices out there, right? And we had been telling those stories around the community and organizations, and we had, people come from all over to be a guest on the show. But at some point, other people need to start telling the stories, just like you're doing, and that's, you have to know when the time is right to leave, and that for us was when it was.
Right. Yeah. That's perfect. No, I was so honored to get to know you and Judy Lozier and have a chat with you guys. And then I remember. So when you get to the city council, we understand what are the challenges are. I believe like the salary definitely is one of the challenges that the people cannot commit most of their time, because I know some governmental jobs that if you have that job, you are not allowed to work for any other companies, because they said in this profession we pay enough that you don't go anywhere else. So they want them to stay. But this is unfortunately not working with the city councilor and mayor. And so the mayor is also, because I had Adam here, we talk about that as how being a mayor as a part-time works. He told me about it was really strange to me at the beginning.
Yes.
But because he put a lot of time out there, not volunteering maybe, but like attending these events and then fundraising, going to schools, they all take a lot of time that sometimes me as a young person, if I want to ask myself, do I want to do it? Probably I'm going to say no, because this is my beginning of my journey, right? But at the same time, I really want to do it because it's something that I feel like I have that vision, for example, for the city. I have that mindset. I'm ambitious. I know also I'm educated enough. I think I can do it, but the budget doesn't.
I totally understand. And there was a time in my life where I couldn't have, right? Because especially when I came out of the restaurant, and all of that, I just didn't have the time. I was working so much at that time. I just, all I could do was volunteer in my spare time. But, I will say this though, because when I started on council, my starting salary was $13,000. So as I finish now, after 5 years, it's $16,000. So it does go up a little bit every year. But you don't get into it for the money. You know, it's nice for sure. It's a nice extra, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was really about being able to do what I could for the community.
For the community, definitely, yeah. I can understand. So, was it 2 or last 2 years that you were also running for the MLA, right?
2 years ago.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
2024.
Right, 2024. I think during that time I was living out of the town because I was taking a course in mountains, so I was not really involved with anything. I don't remember how close you were, guys, on the voting.
Yeah.
But the picture that I remember when it was a live show that you and Michelle Conroy were in one room when they were trying to counting the votes, right?
So actually, no. It's probably what you're thinking of is after the results. I went to see Michelle.
Okay.
To congratulate her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just saw the video. I thought you guys were together just watching it.
No, I went to see her to congratulate her.
Okay.
And so there was about 700 votes difference between
700.
us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just so close.
Yeah, it was.
It's the same as Lisa Harris and Mike Dawson, right?
Yeah,
they were so close.
About 300 votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just saying that how we love, like we are not divided. How can I say? We are equally spread into two parties. Like personally, like most of the people keep like asking me what parties I'm supporting or something. I'm saying I'm educating myself for now, and then I'm supporting both of them. I'm going to all of the meetings, all of the events, and learning, hearing their voices. So that's what I always try to do, like learn from all of them.
Yeah.
I got the chance to get to know the previous premier, Blaine Higgs, and then I got the chance to, when Susan Holt was doing her campaign, coming to Miramichi a couple times, I got the chance to meet her, and they're both great people. And I believe
absolutely.
All of us we have the same goal, right?
Everybody wants to do good, right? Like they get into it because I'm assuming that 99.9% of people that get involved in politics do it because they want to do good things and they want to see good things happen to the people around them. And and that was one of the things I had never actually intended to run provincially, I'll be honest.
Okay.
I'm very happy at the municipal level. I feel like that's where I'm most effective. But at the time, this particular riding of Miramichi East, we had been in opposition for a number of years. So it's always tough when you're in opposition. The governments don't tend to give out as much candy, we'll say, and so my hope was that if we could get onto the government side, that we would, see some more growth in funding and partnerships. Yeah. So that was my main drive there, because I find the party system tough as well, because you can get pigeonholed into, you're just one of those or one of those, and for me, that's why I loved being on council, is that didn't come with it. You just got to do the work, and you got to work with everybody, and you got to work with the people. And so I really had not intended to run, but I did in the end, and learned a lot. And I was really glad to go back to council.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, like I remember that picture that you guys were hugging each other. I saw that because
it was the night of the result. Yeah, it was after the results. So I went to her campaign headquarters to congratulate her. And,
but that's beautiful that you keeping the competition healthy, right? Yeah. I saw you a couple of days ago with the Chamber of Commerce event. Yep. You and Tiffany were talking, laughing.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. Yeah. I just love
it. For me, it's about ideas, right? It's not, and during my campaign in 2024, I talked about what I can bring to the table, right? I didn't, for me, it wasn't about tearing down my opponents at that time or the government. For me, it was about what I can do and what I can do for the people of the community. And that's where I'm still focused, you know? Like I said a few minutes ago, everybody comes at it because they think that they can do good things. Yeah. And so for me, it's about what I bring to the table, what I see happening for us, and how I can bring other people on that path with me.
Yeah, definitely. Just asking you some question about some decision that you make as a city councilor, or I'm sure that you feel up the space for Adam Lordam. You guys sometimes doing that, right? To become a chair or like the mayor, right?
Yeah.
When someone is not available,
Yeah.
like. And then I want to know, based on the decisions, for example, me as a PRAC member, I have the education behind myself that into architecture. I know about the city, I know about designing, and then I'm confident when I'm making a decision. And the staff already made some of those decisions. We have like a staff recommendation, we review that, we review the file, see if something missing or not, we make the decision. But for the city council, it is different. Not all of the people are, for example, architect, or not all of the people are engineer, right?
No.
So how are you guys making those decisions?
Yeah.
Is it only community feedback? Are you guys getting community feedback before going to the
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it depends on what it is. You know, sometimes there'll be a lot of community feedback about something. Sometimes we'll purposefully go out looking for community feedback, and that's one of the things for me that I really want to see improve. You know, if I get the opportunity to be mayor, I really want to see that connection improve with the community. So we do sometimes get feedback from the community. As I said, I do hear from people when I'm at events, but we also get a management report with the recommendations and the background from staff. So if it's the director of engineering or the director of economic development or wellness and rec, they provide a management report that's got all of those details. Or if we're getting something from PRAC, right? So there's the staff recommendations, there's the PRAC recommendations. There's often a presentation as well that'll come with it. So I read those packages before I get to council, because we usually get them the Friday before council. So I have the weekend. And I will do some of my own research to see, you know, because there's a lot of subjects that I will never be an expert in, you know. Engineering is one of them. I fully understand that, that I will never be an expert. You know, I also will never be a firefighter or a police officer, or because they can do things that we'll never do. But I will do as much of my own reading as I can. I'm an avid reader. I love to read. And so I will do as much of my own reading as I can, but I also will look at the recommendations. And then we always have the opportunity to ask questions, you know, what we're not understanding or what's not clear in the management report. And so that'll usually come out at council as well. And then we go forward with the decision.
Yeah. I think so far I loved how the podcast is going on. We started from your background, your family, going to the Ottawa, your jobs, getting back to Miramichi, running for council for 5 years right now, and then you were running for the provincially, becoming MLA, and then now you are running for becoming a mayor. You are one of the candidates out of 5.
Yes.
And then I believe before I getting to your asking about your decision, when that happened that you wanted to made that decision that you want to run for mayor, I want to ask you how much that we talk about the community feedback. How much do you think that is important in some cases? Is the community feedback always important because of some decisions?
I think having a perspective from the community is important. I do. I also know though that there's a lot of decisions that we have to make that not everybody's going to love, you know, and they may have made a different decision, and I understand that. And so my driving thought behind it, there's probably about 3 votes that I've lost sleep on, where I've like really was not sure what I was going to do before I got to the vote. But really, my driving force behind the decisions I make is this. Do I truly believe that this is the best thing for the most number of people?
Okay, yeah.
You know, because there's always going to be both sides and down the middle, right?
No, I understand.
Yeah. So I think the more we can involve the community and have conversations, so that it's not just when something's going wrong, but when things are going right, or just a random, you know, conversation. And that's one of the things I really want to see moving forward is quarterly town halls, or like open houses, where we can actually sit down and talk to people and have a conversation about what they see in the community. Right. You know, and I've had the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to meet with most of the council candidates and have one-on-one conversations, because they're all coming with a vision as well, right? And they're running for a reason. And so it's been really interesting to get to know them. I haven't been able to connect with all of them yet. For some, their schedule hasn't worked, and that's okay. We still have a couple weeks till the election. But it's to get a different perspective. I love being around a table with different perspectives from mine. I always want to learn something. And that has been the biggest part over the last 5 years that's been great for me, is that there are so many different perspectives around the council table, but also in the community. And while I can't fix everything, I will at least listen so I can learn.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's perfect perspective. The reason why I asked that question, because I truly believe that the community feedback could not be important in some cases, because it depends how much those community have the skin on the game. Because they might want to share their feedback, but it might not even affect their life.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
it might be also opposite. It might totally affect someone else's life in a bad way. So that's why I usually really careful of what decisions that I'm making for, sometimes at the PRAC member, or sometimes I'm sharing some. If you notice, I usually share some questions on my social media, not that because I don't know the answer. I ask that question that the people see different perspective, what other people think about it. That's, for example, about the library. I ask, do you guys really think that we need a library, or we don't need a library? I didn't share what is my idea, and see, some people said, no, we don't need it. Some people say, yeah, we need it.
Of course.
And some people, so it's all are tough decisions, and it comes to see how we can be creative towards them. And then, so that's why I'm saying, like, try to educate my own community too by asking those questions that they can. I'm not educating, but they reading the comments or reading the posts, they can like subconsciously get into the right direction. Anyway, so when was the time that you said, I want to run for the mayor? It's hard for me to pinpoint, I'll be honest. I had expected to run for council again. Okay.
That was originally my intention. That was most of last fall. That was where I was heading towards, because as I said, I really, love the work that I get to do there. But as time progressed, I got through Christmas and did a lot of soul searching over Christmas. I had lost my mom a year ago.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, she was my best friend. And I did a lot of soul searching over Christmas, and I really felt that I had more in me that I could give. I felt that there were things that I could do to improve the community and how City Hall works, how even the culture that our staff at City Hall experiences, but also how the community connects better with us at City Hall, but with each other as well. And I came to realize that there's some gaps that I want to see filled. And I felt like I could have that impact. And so I thought a lot about it. And I really tried to have conversations with people that were not political in any way, that often had differing opinions from mine, and would give me honest feedback about what I could bring to the table and what I could do as mayor. And so I had a lot of those conversations in January and February. But there's also, one of the pieces is for the work that I do in my full-time job, I had to go through a process to get permission in order to present as a candidate. And could not present as a candidate until I had written permission. And it takes about 8 weeks, and they do a deep analysis of the impact that I would have on my job moving forward, and because I can't negatively impact my day job and the integrity of what I do for a living. So that gave me time, that 2 months gave me time to really figure out if I thought I was the best person to do this, or if I thought that I needed to support somebody else that was going to be. And so finally I did.
Yeah.
And then I finally announced.
Yes.
And I finally announced on Friday the 13th because it just seemed like
April 13th, right?
No, March Friday.
Oh, March.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's been a while, but and so and that was the decision. I felt like I could bring a different voice, and that I could be a voice for those who may not always feel heard. And that's from every corner of our community.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could do some things better.
Yeah, yeah. So what would you recommend to the people who want to go to vote? I know you are one of the candidates too, but
that one's
But what would you be recommending when people they want to make a decision, right? Choose their future leader.
Yep.
And then what factors they have to look for? I know, as I say, I know you are one of the candidates too, but what would you recommend the people looking for? Because I know many of you guys have a lot of signs out there.
There's so many signs
There are so many signs everywhere, right? And then I was thinking, people are really gonna take a decision by looking at those signs, or they wanna get to know you guys more.
Yeah.
So if you were a citizen, not a candidate, what would be the factors that you were looking into that about choosing your mayor?
So it's funny that I'm about to say this, but I truly believe this, and I have told this to a lot of people over the years, is that politics is like a bus, okay? So you get on the bus and you get as close to your stop as you can. It doesn't always take you exactly to your stop, but to where you want to go, but it takes you to something that's close. And politics is the same. So in my world, so you as a candidate might have a lot of what I really want. There might be some things I disagree with, but there's a lot that you've said that I really like.
Right.
So that's one piece, right? Is that no candidate is ever going to be able to give you everything that you want, ever. So get on the bus and find the stop that's closest to where you want to get. The other thing, though, is ask questions. Ask questions, and it's hard for candidates. There's 10,000 doors in this community to knock on in a very short period of time. And it's absolutely important. But, most or all of us are very accessible in some way or another. And it's asking questions. If you don't know something about a candidate, ask. They either have an email or a phone number or Facebook or whatever. And I think, it's on us as voters, because I'm a voter too, right? It's on us as voters to connect as much as we can, and that it's hard, you're bombarded during these campaigns by messaging and all of 100%. That. And it everywhere I look, there's more signs, right? And it's hard to kind of filter through that noise. But it's taking a little bit of time and reading if you can find what's important to them, or asking them questions if you're not sure, or attending an event where they might be. Yeah,
100%. No, glad I asked that question. I learned a lot. It's a great perspective. Before I want to ask you two questions. Yep. One of them would be an imaginary question, but another one would be, what is your vision if you become a mayor? What would be your vision for the city of Miramichi for next 4 years?
So my vision for the city, there are several pieces that fit into that, right? So economic development, absolutely, but economic development can't happen all by itself, right? When we look at bringing in large-scale employers, or even creating an atmosphere for smaller businesses to be able to thrive here, there's some pieces we need to put in place first. We know that housing has been a huge focus for the last few years because our vacancy rate was less than 1%, and a healthy vacancy rate is around 4 or 5%. So we didn't have enough places for people to live here. So that's been a focus for sure. But that's the very first component, though, that you need to create an atmosphere for economic development. So is that housing piece. The next piece that we need to create is better partnerships with places like MBCC, right? The Chamber, the downtown business districts, to create that workforce that companies will want to come and employ. Because that's the other piece that is sometimes missing. when companies want to come and establish, or that economic development piece wants to grow, is that they're missing the workforce. So we need the housing for them to live somewhere. We need the trained workforce ready to go. And then we need to get very, very aggressive. It's a terrible word, but we need to get very aggressive in going out to find those companies, because most people don't know how fabulous we are here, right? They don't know that we have this incredible river, or the natural places like French Fork Cove or Wilson's Point, or, I can name so many of them. Yeah. And so we need to go out and show them. We need to actively knock on some doors and say, if you're thinking of expanding or moving or starting a business, come check us out. And let's create those conditions where their workforce can be housed, they can have a trained workforce, and then they can put their business here, right? And that's how we grow it all, in conjunction with a fantastic place to live.
100%. Yeah, that's great to hear. So another question, as I said, is about, like, let's imagine that right now. What I'm imagining for the city of Miramichi as a citizen is, for example, lighting the Centennial Bridge. It costs a lot of money probably, or it might not. But what are your ambitious vision for the city? If you had the money, or if the city had the money, or I don't know. Yeah.
If I had no worries,
about the money.
If I had no worries, if I could do whatever I wanted to do, I'll be honest, I would love to see a biking, walking path all along the river, around the river.
All along the
Yeah.
Did the city didn't receive the budget for having a sidewalk all around the river?
So we have, we've expanded the shoulder on the south side of the river, and we did put a lot of sidewalk on the north side.
On the north side?
Yeah,
okay.
so from bridge to bridge you can walk.
From Douglastown side?
Yeah, from Douglastown to Newcastle you can walk.
On a sidewalk? On a sidewalk.
Yeah, there are some places where it's a bike lane.
Okay.
But you can get from one bridge to the other.
Oh, really?
We don't have that yet on this side, but I'll be honest with you, my vision is like a boardwalk right along the river.
Along the river.
Not just on the road, but right along the river, all around the river. That's my, if I had no worries about money. And because I hear it all the time, and you see it in other places. I traveled through France and Belgium a couple of years ago with my dad in 2023 on a pilgrimage trip through the World War sites. And we went for the Legion here in New Brunswick. And everywhere you go, it is in their infrastructure to have bike and walking lanes.
Yeah.
And that's what, that's we're missing that. Do 100%. I have lots of other great things if money were no object? Absolutely. But that's my first one.
I love that because it's beautiful. Me as a student, I used to live beside the hospital.
Yes.
I didn't know anything about the buses, anything about the taxis. And Corey, my boss, he's living at the close to Luggyville, after Chatham.
Yeah.
And then I was walking from hospital to the Chatham, and it was a long walk, and it was dangerous, and it's like right beside the road. It was not really fun. But having a sidewalk beside the river is it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it is doable because of not because of the money, but because of some people own the river.
Oh, absolutely. The city doesn't own it. And you that would have to be part of it, right? Is purchasing pieces of everybody's property, right? Along, and that's a pie in the sky. And the other thing, though, to me, to be honest with you, and it's maybe not so pie in the sky, it could be doable at some point, is, and I've talked about it a couple of times, is a Bailey Bridge of sorts, which would run from Chatham Head to Newcastle, so that the ATVs, snowmobiles, everything could cross the river safely. Right? That then opens up a pile of tourism dollars, because people can then travel from the north of the province right to the south of the province. And so it opens up the north entirely for that kind of tourism attraction. And I think that when we start to have those really exciting tourism pieces, it helps to build that economic development as well, right? Because companies then their workers want to stay here, they want to come here because there's these great things to do, right? And the other piece that I struggle with, and I think it is doable, is we have a lack of community space in our city, across the city. We have great green space. We have wonderful indoor event space, like where we are now, but community space where programming can happen for, seniors or kids or whatever, for things to do, we have a serious lack of community space. And I think that needs to be a focus as we move forward. So many groups that I've talked to over the last probably 6 months are struggling to find space to continue their programs, like Sistema, like the gymnastics club, like archery, whatever it is, because there's no where to go do that kind of stuff. And so there are ways that we can do that moving forward. It needs to be a focus. It's less kind of that, fantasy world and something that we can actually accomplish, but it needs to be a focus. So you put together, housing and training and actively seeking out that economic development, and then you create great spaces for people to live and work and play in, and now all of a sudden you've got economic development.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just keep thinking when you were talking about this, I feel like I'm taking advantage of all of the knowledge you have. So let's go with the scenario that, for example, I might have in my mind, and see you as a perspective, as a city councillor, where are the challenges or what is the problem? Where is the problem in my thought? For example, let's imagine right now, do we have any budget dedicated for the library that is going to go for the Chatham or not?
So right now what we have is a tender out for the design.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think actually, to be honest with you, that is a great first step in a community space. When you think about the library of the future, and we're very stuck on the library piece, right? Like the word library, because everybody's like, wow, nobody reads books anymore.
No.
And for the most part, a lot of people do either read on a device or whatever. But if we think about the library of the future and kind of take ourselves out of that mindset. So the library of the future is not necessarily 6,000 square feet of books. It's a part of it, right? Because that's always going to be important. We talk about literacy all the time and improving our literacy scores. But the library of the future has community space in it. Right?
100%.
Because that is what was most used at this library here.
Yep.
The programming for seniors and kids, for families. And libraries as a building are the only place that you can walk into with no expectation of spending money.
Spending money, 100%.
Right? You just get to be you.
Yeah.
And they provide internet that a lot of our families don't have access to. They provide support in job search, right? They can print stuff.
Print and stuff.
Yeah, and they provide programming. And all of that makes that community gathering space important. And somebody came up with a great idea the other night that I thought of, that I heard, that they told me about. And it was, maybe you can put a community kitchen in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that you want to have a Persian night.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
You get to go in there and maybe you teach me how to cook, maybe whatever it may be. But same with Fresh for Less is missing a spot to hand out their program. We're struggling with that piece. And so for me, that library is so important, not because of the book piece. It is, but that's one part of it. It is the actual community space where we get to deliver programming that puts kids and families on the best path for success.
Yeah, and 100% as an architect point of view, I can say the library is one of the main thing that represent the city and represent the culture and everything else. And with its own architecture, with the books, with the events happening in the library, this is one of the main parts of every town and every city. Personally, when I travel anywhere, I go to the library first. I've been in Halifax, best library. It's amazing. Going to the Montreal, the same thing. So it's important. Definitely, it is important part of the city. And then, so my perspective was, how about, it's not my perspective, it's just a scenario. I want to bring it up and trying to, because some people might have the same perspective and we want to practice out what are the challenges to
For
it.
sure.
Having, for example, you say $7 million, $10 million spending money for the library, or taking that, it's also part, I know it's a investment on our kids, on our youth, and many other people. And instead of that, how about this, like renting a place that is not used, mostly maybe a heritage building that can go, that the owner cannot handle the expenses.
Sure.
And then instead of putting that money into something that can have some revenue for the city, like I'm giving this as an example, not because I just love the bridge, but for example, imagine lighting the bridge based on the research showing that it's going to have some revenue as a tourist attraction, I don't know, 10% more for the city budget. What would be the decision here if you were to make?
So we did look at, if we talk specifically about the library, we did have three options that were presented to us, which included leasing a space from an existing owner, having a developer build the library, and then us leasing, and then us building it ourselves. So those were three options that we were presented at the time. The cheapest by far over the long term was building ourselves.
The long term, how many years?
So from 10 to 50.
10 to 50.
Yeah, it was tens of millions of dollars more over the long term.
Over the long term.
Yeah. And so I'll be honest, and I've talked about this, I talked about it on my live last weekend. I originally thought that the cheapest option, because I know nothing about this kind of stuff, would be for a developer to build the building and us to lease from them. That was actually the most expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, and which surprised me.
Right.
If there came a building available in Miramichi, like a heritage building, right? And we could make that work, it'd be beautiful.
Right.
You know, I love the fact that we have our sandstone buildings here, you know, and that you know, the architecture of the church and even the district office, you know. And of course we just lost the Bishop's Palace, unfortunately, but you know, that it's beautiful to me, you know, and we don't have a lot of those buildings left. But if there were that option with an existing building that was historical at the same time, and we can make those numbers work, fully on board.
100%.
You know, because you can always renovate something, right? But if it costs us more in the long term to renovate than it does to build, and we still don't get to have that anchor hub for this part of the community, and I would feel the same no matter which library we were talking about. It just so happened that we had to tear this one down, but I really I feel the programming and the work that the library does far exceeds you know what it's going to cost us in the long run.
No, 100%. Yeah, I agree. I'm so glad that I asked that question, because it brought up a lot of new perspective to me, and I'm sure to the rest of the people who are watching the podcast. And then definitely, I think it's amazing that you guys have like those options and see long term.
I know it's a contentious issue, right? Because people see the price tag, you know, or they hear the price tag and they think $7 million for books that nobody reads.
Yeah, it's not like that.
And that's not what it meant to me, right? And so it's been tough for me to hear that feedback over and over and over again, because I see the potential of what that library does, and what the Newcastle Library does for the community, right? And both of those libraries are exceptionally well used, you know, and for us to go into it, you can't partner with a school because you can't have strangers walking into a school, right? So we do have libraries at the schools, but you can't
go with friends or with family,
right? So you know, and so it's been tough, because I do understand that people are frustrated with the cost of everything right now, you know, and ends don't meet as 100%. Often as they should. And I understand that frustration, and I understand the fear that comes with that. And there's a really, you know, easy place to put that when you say it's a $7 million book warehouse, right? But when you think about what it actually does, what the library staff actually does in the day-to-day, it's very little about the books, and it's mostly about giving kids and seniors and families an opportunity to have access to things that you and I probably take for granted most of the time.
100%. Yeah. You know, that's like having a library in the town is the crucial, the main thing that every community have to have it. So I know some people saying that, oh, we are the Miramichi, and Miramichi already have like 2 libraries, 1 in Newcastle, 2 in Newcastle, 1 at the Carrefour Beausoleil too.
Yeah.
But Chatham community, it's not that we are divided, but Chatham community, we are part of the Miramichi, but in this part of the town, we needed to, I believe, too.
So it's not necessarily about equality, it's about equity, right? Equality means everybody gets the same. Equity means everybody gets what they need.
Right.
And for me, it's always been about equity. So, you know, in this particular case, again, we need that space, and we need that kind of space all over the city, and we need to focus on that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, for example, I'm lucky that, for example, Rot Hotel became my sponsor, that I'm recording my podcast here. But I remember they were offering some meeting rooms, I think even for free, to the student or like everyone, that if they want to like use their, I'm talking about like all the Chatham library.
Right, yeah.
They were providing the room for free if someone want to have a conference or anything.
Yeah, genealogy was working out of there, you know, so that piece of history, right? That connection to our history was working out of there, and it does a lot. It does a lot.
No, I think we were having a great time talking. I couldn't get the chance to talk more about the architecture maybe in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm wishing you the best luck for your coming election. And then if you have any last message for the community of the Miramichi, the reason they have to vote for you, or like what is your message, whatever, is your camera, or you can talk to me, whatever.
I just want everybody to ask questions, you know, to get to know your candidates, whether, you know, for whatever it means the most to you, you know, and to get out and vote, right? That is your say.
Yeah.
You know, that is your way that you can actually have a say in what happens in your community. And it's really important. You know, people think, oh, I'm just one vote, it doesn't matter. It absolutely does.
Yeah, 100%. It was a great statement. Thank you so much. I really encourage everybody go out, and I believe they can start voting from today. The vote's happening today. Go vote for someone. If you are not sure, as you mentioned, ask questions. It's important to community engage in that, because when they are not voting, it's a really bad look for the people who are looking from outside of the country. For example, I'm from Iran. Iran is a mess right now, unfortunately. Me as an Iranian, as one of the citizens, I'm not happy with the government. Right. And many others are not happy. And then what they do is like they totally don't vote, and because they want to show we don't want this regime anymore. But right now, you gotta look around how lucky we are that living in this beautiful country with the freedom we have, with everybody doing the work, and all the politicians can be accountable, and most of the time our voices can be heard. So that's the time that you gotta like keep this system up and go out and vote and protect this lifestyle, and vote at least to someone that you think can do a bit better. You don't need to be 100% agree with, right? And then you gotta, but it's important to go and voting, because if you're not voting, it doesn't look good on us. Well,
if you don't vote, then you're letting other people make a decision for you.
Making a decision for your life, right? Yeah. Kind of. 100%. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate for your time. We had a great conversation, and I'm happy if anybody watch until here. Please don't forget to subscribe us. We are gonna have more podcasts with maybe more candidates. We have time. If they have time, sometimes I invite them. They don't want to come sometimes, or whatever. They don't know me. I understand. It's understandable sometimes. But I'm so honored that you accept my invitation. We had a great chat, and it was a great episode. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for taking the time with me.
Of course. Thank you so much. Okay, the very best. Have a good day. Thanks. Done. Thank you.